So, first of all, I'd like to thank my cousin, Senator David Norris, and to just remind him that we had a secret pact never to mention General Sir John Maxwell. We said we would claim each other, but we wouldn't claim him.
At my age, it doesn't matter anymore.
You've left me with the smoking gun, I say. So I just want to thank you all for your very kind welcome, and we're exceptionally honoured and humbled to be here, and I'm very, very grateful for that extraordinary community of Trinity graduates, and I'm privileged to be a member of that community. I grew up in Finglas, I went to the Christian Brothers, but was very fortunate to go to Trinity College Dublin, and I think the ethical and intellectual formation I got in my studies there, and in the debates, and you know, that wonderful time in the 80s when you're 19 and 20 years old, I think that really was part of the reason why I pursued the research that I did while I was an army officer, and some of the other directions I've taken in my life. So I'm very grateful to Trinity as a university, as an institution, but also for that community of support. And without that, I would not be here. I'm also very struck by the painting behind Senator Daly there. My grandmother was born in Killorglin in 1900, Moiraid Begley, and she came to Dublin in 1916 to become a primary school teacher. And she was radicalised by the events of that year, and particularly the execution of the 1916 leaders. And so she joined Cumann na mBan, and in 1919 she qualified as a teacher and got a job in Scolvrija, which was then on Stephen's Green. It was Ireland's first Gael school, set up by Louise Gavin Duffy. And my grandmother taught there from 1919 till 1965. In 1919, she became involved with the South Dublin Brigade of the Irish Republican Army, the IRA, and she participated in fire bombings of police stations all across South County Dublin. Blackrock, Cabinteely, Dunleary, Bray, Greystones, Dundrum, Blessington. They were all attacked by my grandmother and her friends. So I like to think that she was a typical woman, a multitasker, a school teacher by day and an arsonist and a freedom fighter at night. So Granny came to live with us when she retired. I was born in 1966, and Granny, my nana, kind of spoiled me, and she used to call me on Gowan Brack, the speckled calf, because of my freckles. And she was the only adult I knew that would allow me to drink. She had this thing, let's see how much lemonade you can drink before you feel sick. Like, what a granny. But I grew up in a matriarchal household with my grandmother, my mum, my three sisters. And so I knew that women had played a very active role in the liberation of the state, and played an active role in the formation of this republic. So when I joined the Defence Forces and served here before the ceasefires in what we called aid to the civil power operations, and then in the Middle East in Lebanon during a very violent deployment in which hundreds and hundreds of Lebanese men, women and children were massacred in the Irish area of operations, and I witnessed that at first hand. And I'm very conscious as we speak that this is happening in Ukraine, in Chernihiv, in Mariupol, in Kharkiv. And so I hope I can bring some of that experience and the importance of peace building, negotiation, back channels, always keeping the communication lines open to end the killing and end the violence. And I think we really have to make sure that we do everything in our power to avoid escalation, because there are unique risks with that conflict in Ukraine. So I'm very, very proud to see my wife, Aideen, here. And again, I would not be here with Aideen. And this wonderful community of support I have with Eddie Barron, Roger Galligan, with John and with Emma Summers, and with David and Helen Moyna, and with Polly McCourt. You know, this wonderful family and community of support that rallied behind me in the election attempt in 2016 which Lynn certainly taught me a few lessons. And again in 2020, when I think you doubled your first preference votes. And, you know, it's great. It was one of the one...
the trickle now, doesn't it?
and it was one of the wonderful features of that particular election contest that I made so many new friends. And I count Lynn amongst one of my friends. And in many ways, Lynn, you remind me of my grandmother. You have that same pioneering spirit, and I really admire the work that you're doing in relation to the drugs task force in Tala and so on, and your new blog, and it's just, I really admire all the work that you do. So we have 4 kids, and our Owen, my campaign manager, who's busy allegedly studying for his assignments in DBS, he was the campaign manager in this particular election cycle. And along with my youngest fellow, Rossi, who's a teenager, he's only 13, and they really worked hard on the campaign videos. I noticed that my speeches would attract maybe 7 or 8 viewers per day on the different platforms, and at least 2 of those were me looking at myself. But anytime Leahy, the dog, appeared, we got many, many thousands of views, so I think it really helped us to connect. So look, Owen was diagnosed with a neuromuscular disease at 18 months. He was normal delivery. He hit all of his developmental milestones. And at 18 months, you know, we had this awful moment where he was diagnosed with a rare neuromuscular disease called Pelizaeus-Merzbacher disease. He's a wheelchair user. He's partially sighted. But like all families with a family member with additional needs, we went through the looking glass and into this parallel republic where you have to fight tooth and nail for very, very poor services and resources. And it's not the fault of the clinicians or the wonderful specialists we have. It is, Ireland, sadly, is one of the worst places in the European Union to have a disability on every measure. Social isolation, poverty, homelessness, suboptimal medical outcomes, unhappiness, and it is for shame. And we should be the best country in the European Union to have additional needs. And that is the particular motivation for me to run. It comes from the very heart of my family and from that experience. I'm here to do 3 things. I'm here to learn from you all, and you have been exceptionally kind to me in the last 48 hours as I've tried to find my way around the houses like a lost sheep. People have been exceptionally kind. I'm here to learn from you. I'm also here to make friends, because I know that there is a wonderful coalition of the willing who want to improve across all parties the existential circumstances in which people with additional needs, our most wonderful citizens, our most precious citizens. And finally, in the time that I have allotted to me, and mindful of Lynn's growing first preference cohort, I want to use whatever time I have in the Senate to do something constructive and to do something positive. And so finally, to thank my family, my good friends who are here today, to thank you all for welcoming me, and to thank most of all of the wonderful Trinity graduates and the Provost, Linda Doyle, who gave me such a great welcome. For all of this, I'm very grateful, and I'm here to serve. Thank you.